air. Ariman, you are G, top G. We just forgot. I totally forgot to put audio on. I just set this entire thing up and I set up for overlay, I set up for video, backdrop, all that shit, and there's no audio. Thank you. Thank you. All right, cool. So, what are we talking about? The transformation from electrons to tokens is such an incredible journey. So it's like when you read that, you're like, that could be either very philosophical, and that could be either like, you know, a way to comprehend this incredible work that you're doing, or that could be total bullshit. Because you have understood that, okay, if all this information has been ingested on Claude, you can literally go and print that same file and send to TSMC. And what is TSMC? TSMC is basically a printing shop.
Sure.
Just like today, you're like, oh, this book, I want a photocopy of it. You go to a printing shop, you're like, hey, just go photocopy it for me. That's exactly what happens, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's like, this is my file, go print for me.
Yeah. But it's the only printing shop in the world.
Exactly. Only big printing shop in the world that also works with you one-on-one to really improve the process itself.
Yeah.
It's like a printing shop where you are working together to print the right product, but also improve the printing process itself.
Yeah.
And that's where TSMC is like constantly improved. TSMC is like a pretty good infrastructure, because with every single client, Nvidia, Samsung, whatever, Tesla is printing, they're constantly learning how can they improve their process, how do they go from 7 nanometer technology to 5 nanometer technology or 2 nanometer technology, and they can keep pushing. They can leverage all the learnings from every single client and keep pushing their process.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think if there's any real bottleneck or any real USP here, it's TSMC, it's not Nvidia. I think the line of Nvidia just being a .exe file on top of TSMC chip is it's true. I guess I hadn't like thought about it that much, but it would be interesting to see how he responds to it. Jensen, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. All right. Ariman in the chat. Ariman is like, let's go www. Yep, all of this is so cool. Appreciate you. Bhai.
Thanks, Ariman.
Thank you, bhai.
Thank you for catching the audio, by the way.
Yes, bhai.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my God. Imagine recording this entire thing. Okay, we need to do this again. 3, 2, 1. You're watching NSTV. All right, we need to just capture that. Okay, perfect. Next one we have, I got this one. All right, so do you know TBPN?
I actually don't know.
Okay, now I don't know how to talk to you about this. TBPN, I think, is already toast, crazy. They just straight disappeared. So TBPN is basically what we are inspired by right now.
Okay.
We are inspired by TBPN. TBPN is basically just a live stream, and they every single day for 2 to 3 hours they cover the timeline on Twitter. What are the most latest happenings in terms of technology, business?
OpenAI bought them recently?
OpenAI bought them.
Yeah.
So they had many sponsors. They had like 15, 20 sponsors, and like this entire bar that we have going on, they just had like 15, 20 sponsors, Gemini and AdQuick and all that kind of stuff.
So they would just like go through a Twitter feed and like talk about it.
Exactly. They would actually do the work of like curating which tweets they want to talk about, and then they would also call in interviews. So it's like live interviews. No podcast, no like post-production podcast. They will have live calls.
Okay.
So it's like we have over here, and we just like add another Ariman over here. We like Ariman, start talking with us, right?
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. And now they got acquired by OpenAI. So the entire conversation is that now that you are acquired by OpenAI, you have kind of messed everything up, because
now you have a bias.
Now you have a clear bias.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bigger problem that nobody's talking about. OpenAI acquired them because they felt that they are really good at marketing. One of the guys they both are amazing. Like I think, what's his name? John Coogan. John Coogan was the founder of the nicotine pouches, Lucy. He was before that founder of Soylent, if you know Soylent.
I don't.
Oh my God. In SF, there were guys who were like, all this meal and nutrition is so hard. Let us just drink this one protein Soylent kind of thing for breakfast, lunch, dinner. It was a meal replacement drink.
Okay, wow.
That
sounds like a bad idea.
There was a guy who did this experiment where he was like, for 30 days, I will just do Soylent.
Okay.
I will just do Soylent.
Okay.
I don't know what's the result, but yeah, look into it.
Well, we discussed Brian Johnson before we had audio, and it would be interesting to have Brian Johnson just drink Sprite, but he probably wouldn't. He wouldn't want to harm his health, I guess.
Yeah. No. I don't think he will do that.
That would be interesting. But anyway, yes, you're telling me the two guys.
So there's Sean Coogan, there's another guy, Jordy. They were amazing in marketing. So one of the reasons OpenAI acquired TBPN is because they want to really acquire these guys. That hey, now you come, you work for OpenAI, you help us market our product to the mainstream. Let's take it mainstream, right? Because they understand audience. The problem now is if they are working with OpenAI,
they automatically lose their market validity from the market. Like nobody will take them seriously anymore.
Nobody will take them seriously.
It's a self-destroying prophecy.
Exactly, and also because now they are working so closely with one company, they have a lot of internal secrets.
Right.
And now they're gonna have a hard time to be really authentic in their streams because their streams were streams of consciousness.
Right.
Because they were constantly guessing what the team were thinking. Right. What is Anthropic's strategy behind this Super Bowl ad that they launched? Do you think they will win? What do you think? So Sam Altman reacted like this. Now what's gonna happen? Earlier they were just predicting everything, and that's the reason people like them. Now they know.
Yeah.
When you know, you can, number one, you cannot talk about it. You cannot talk about the internal conversations, internal strategy meetings that are happening in OpenAI.
Yeah.
Number two, you cannot be authentic now.
Yeah, nobody.
You're constantly trying to self-filter yourself while you are on these live streams.
That makes sense. This looks like a really bad deal for all parties involved.
Yeah.
Like OpenAI will never gain market share by doing this because people will just not trust them anymore.
Exactly.
And so the tweet says that they disappeared overnight. What's up with that? Did they actually just disappear overnight?
No. So, by the way, Arman Maheshwari, love the Unk Brian. So he's also watching Brian. By the way, comment anything that you learned from Brian Johnson, anything that you kind of saw him doing, were influenced by him, you implemented in your life, and you actually like it. Let's see.
Yeah, Arman, I'm sorry you couldn't get to hear our Brian Johnson takes. We had a few good ones.
Okay, he's heading out. Ciao, boys.
Ciao,
ciao.
See you.
Anyways, your question was, are they actually disappeared?
Yeah.
So they have not disappeared. They have kind of disappeared from the timeline.
Okay.
And everybody's guessing what's the reason.
Okay.
Now that they're working with OpenAI.
Yeah.
Who's the head? Sam Altman?
Yeah.
Who
beefing with?
Who does Sam Altman hate? Elon?
Makes sense. So
Elon owns X and Grok, and he's like, let's take these guys out.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah. So, but Nikita Beer is the head of product at X. He came out and he's like, no, we are not intentionally doing that.
Okay.
We are actually trying to. I think he mentioned that we are actually, when you go and download X from the App Store, you actually see TBPN over there in one of those cards. When you download an app from an app store, you know how they have cards for just like.
Okay, understood. Yeah. So one of the screenshots actually shows
TBPN.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good signal. But in general, we're talking about OpenAI's recent decision making. I think it's been, I don't know. I think they're really, really behind the curve right now. Like the rate at which Anthropic is iterating and improving their product, and OpenAI already was behind when it was Opus 4.6 versus ChatGPT, I think 5.3 codex or 5.4, something along those lines. And now with like Mythos and Project Glasswing and managed agents and everything, and they just keep releasing new updates every day. I think OpenAI is really, really losing the race. Part of my theory is that the reason that Anthropic is pushing these updates so fast is that they're actually just using Mythos for actually writing the code. And they have been for a while. And I mean, now it's out for defending cybersecurity risks. But the reason they are being able to update the product so fast is they're just using Mythos the whole time.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think OpenAI needs to step up their game or they will be out of the race. I think my bet is on Google and Anthropic. I don't know much about Grok. Maybe Grok has a shot, but OpenAI is clearly losing it, I think.
Yeah. I recently got an email that OpenAI has dropped the price of their Pro subscription. So they dropped from 200 to 136 now.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure 136 Canadian or USD. I'm not sure about that, but they have dropped the price. And you can see competition is heating up. People in general had, as soon as Claude became big, and I think it's interesting. It's like Claude not only won for a moment, but also Claude Code as a brand became really, what do we say, sticky.
Yes.
And I think that stickiness really helped a lot.
Yeah.
Because
there's memes and there's like discourse. Like people just see Claude coding, and nobody says Codex. And
Exactly. Nobody says Codex. That's right. And also OpenClaw. Sorry, not OpenClaw. What was the name earlier?
CloudBot.
CloudBot, exactly. So that's also so interesting because at the start of the year, first 15 days, it was all about Claude Code. Why? Because Claude Code was already good, but during the holidays, during the 15 days of holidays or 10 days of holidays, when the entire Western world goes into like a great reset, hibernation, everybody actually played with it because earlier they were actually doing work. But now they had the time to play and work on their side projects and experimental ideas, and they were like, this is so good. And that's when people realized, like, it was already capable. The capability was there, but the realization came during that 15 days of break, 15 days of holiday break. And then first 15 days of this year was all about Claude Code. Suddenly Claude Bot with that same name added to the fire, and then you had like next 1 month all about CloudBot and OpenClaw and like what's his name, Steinberger, Peter Steinberger, and it was all about that, and then his acquisition at OpenAI, and now Codex has become good, but still Claude Code as a brand remains.
The brand remains. Man. Really
cool. All right, what's next? So TBPN. Next, I think this was just sick. Cybercat.
That's a very good design. The Tesla Roadster isn't out yet, right?
Tesla Roadster isn't out, but I think I think Elon already announced like a new Tesla Roadster design.
Okay.
And I don't know, the old Tesla Roadster was already beautiful.
Did it ever officially launch? I know few people had a few, but I don't know if it officially ever launched as a product. Did it?
No.
It didn't, right?
No.
Yeah.
By the way, I feel so good. Like actually, we did this on my like current channel, and one of my boys actually said to us that, hey, what are you doing? There's no audio. Okay, this is really good. Yeah. All right. What do we have next? The secret to doing great work is always to be a little underemployed. You waste years by not being able to waste hours.
Very cool.
This quote is 1000x more true today as technology accelerates. Reserving time and energy for indulging your curiosity is ever more important. Really feeling that these days. Thoughts?
Very true. I think as AI tools become more and more powerful and get better at doing our jobs faster, it's important for us to have, as you said right now, right, have time to play with those tools. Like if you have time in your day when you just say, okay, I'm done with quote unquote work, with what I'm paid for. Now I have these really powerful tools at my disposal, and I don't have an obligation to someone to use them a certain way. I could use them in any way I want. And often that is what actually leads to like innovation or passion or creativity. It is in those hours where you have the energy, you have the time, and you have an extremely powerful tool set, and you have no restrictions. So agreed 100%. What do you think?
No, exactly. I think this simple idea of curiosity, and I really like it. I actually had to read the last sentence again. You waste years by not being able to waste hours. It's like you have to read that again just to understand what that actually means. You waste years by not being able to waste hours, and that means like every single day you have to create this space where you are curious and you're exploring and you don't have any agenda, and you are just diving into rabbit holes of interest of things that you might be interested in, and you connect these dots, and you're not very rigid, you are just playing with what's out there, and you end up finding something. And that's exactly like when you're talking about Shenzhen, like Shenzhen and hardware, they are not very rigid about it, like we're gonna make this hardware. It's just like there are a lot of engineers who are just playing, always
innovating,
and creativity is mostly just remix. Take A, take B, and just remix, right? There's like they say, there's nothing new on the earth. There's nothing new on the there's nothing new on the earth. Nothing new has been. Everything has already been said. Everything has already been created. All you're doing is just mix and match.
No, that's very true. I guess the counter thought I have also heard recently, and it's like in the same tangent, is that as we get these tools that allow us to do our work faster, we are not actually spending any less time doing work. We're actually spending more time doing work. It's the whole analogy of as steam engines became more efficient at using coal usage across the world increased. Do you know this analogy? In the industrial we have steam engines that are running on coal entirely.
What's the thing Satya talks about it, right? What's
The principle?
What's the principle called?
I don't remember, but I guess
forgot
you
his
know.
name. But he's talking the same thing. Like it's like the better AI efficiency will become, the more people will use it. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's the same thing with the industrial era. We invented a new steam engine that was much more efficient. So you would use less coal to travel greater distances. But overall, across the world, coal usage increased because now everybody wanted to make rail lines and make engines and stuff like that. And I think it's traveling the same direction with AI. Human beings are becoming powerful and fast, but they're not working any lesser. They're working more. Actually, I think in some ways the rate limiting by Claude or by OpenAI, where those hours where you're like, okay, I cannot work anymore physically, it's impossible because I'm rate limited, is when you're living life. Because every other time you're like, okay, fine, I have a few hours until my credits expire. I gotta go do as much work as possible.
Right.
So it's there's that other argument that maybe human beings are like not being underemployed; they're actually becoming super employed. So I see both arguments actually.
Well, that's very interesting. I mean, yesterday I read again another tweet which is like, today to keep up with all this AI, you have to be unemployed.
Yeah.
You have to be unemployed to keep up with what's happening on Twitter because it's so much, it's constant, it's
a full-time job.
It's a full-time job.
Yeah, it's a full-time job just to keep up, and it's not just reading, right? Like once you have to experiment with it, you have to make something with it, you have to like actually do it and understand what's going on. By the time you understand, tomorrow there's a new thing. So it is I see both sides, but
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. But this one was really good. You waste years by not being able to waste hours.
Yeah, it's very good.
All right. This is the next one. People will dunk on Jensen for this, but this is the exact mindset that it takes to be the best in the world, and I think it's pretty much the same. It's the we are not a car, but it's like deeper 3-minute explanation of that.
Even if we which is fine and great, I don't see why that wouldn't be the case in China as well. If you sell them Nvidia chips, just the same way that Google can use TPUs and Nvidia.
We have to keep innovating, and as you probably know, our share is growing, not decreasing. The premise that even if we competed in China, that we're going to lose that market anyways. You're not talking to somebody who woke up a loser. And that loser attitude, that loser premise makes no sense to me. We're not a car. We are not a car.
It sounds so weird.
The fact that I can buy this car brand one day and use another car brand another day, easy. Computing is not like that. There's a reason why the x86 still exists. There's a reason why ARM is so sticky. These ecosystems are hard to replace. It costs an enormous amount of time and energy, and most people don't want to do it. And so it's our job to continue to nurture that ecosystem, to keep advancing the technology so that we could compete in the marketplace. Conceding a marketplace based on the premise you described, I simply can't acknowledge that. It makes no sense because I don't think the United States is a loser. Our industry is now a loser, and that losing proposition, that losing mindset makes no sense to me.
Okay, I'll move on. I just want to make sure
you don't have to move on. I'm enjoying it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Then I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But I think maybe the crux, and thanks for walking around the circles with me, because then I think it helps bring out what the crux here is.
The crux is you're going to extremes. Your argument starts from extremes. That if we give them any compute at all, in this narrow moment, we will lose everything.
No, I think what my argument
those
is...
extremes, they're
childish.
They're childish, yeah.
The idea is not that there is some key threshold of compute.
Yeah.
It is that any marginal compute is helpful, right? So if you have more compute, you can train a better model.
And I just want you to acknowledge that any marginal sales for American technology industry is beneficial.
I actually don't... I mean, if the AI models that run on those chips are capable of cyber offensive capabilities, or training models are capable of cyber offensive, running more models at those instance, it is not a nuclear weapon, but it enables a weapon of a kind.
The logic that you use, you might as well say it to microprocessors and DRAMs. You might as well say it to electricity.
But in fact, we do have export controls on the technology that is relevant to making the most advanced DRAM, right? We have all kinds of export controls on China for all kinds of chip making stuff.
We sell a lot of DRAM and CPUs into China. And I think it's right.
I guess this goes back to the fundamental question of is AI different, right? If you have the kind of technology that can find these 0 days.
This is the idea where he's talking, I think there's another clip where he adds more context, which is more about that we wouldn't give our nuclear weapons to China. Why are we giving AI? Because it's even more powerful. So he's comparing AI with nuclear technology.
In software. Is that something where we want to minimize China's ability to get there first?
We want
to
the United
deploy
States to be ahead. We can control that.
How do we control that if the chips are already there and they're using that to train that model?
We have tons of compute. We have tons of AI researchers.
Yeah. I think there's another clip where he actually goes into that. Maybe we'll find that later, but he talks about this that, we don't, because he mentioned Mythos over here that, okay, if Anthropic as an American company has already built Mythos, 0-day vulnerabilities can crash the entire internet. We don't want that. We don't want China to have access to that. But Jensen is like, no. We want to build the relationship so good that they don't think about us in that adversarial way, and they don't do that because they can do that. They are smart people. Like all our researchers are Chinese, like 50% of them.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think the premise that if this was to be an adversarial world, China would get there today or tomorrow. Like it's not that. Like your chokehold on Nvidia is what's going to stop China from taking over. Like if really adversity is where it's what both countries want, eventually China will get there. It's not a permanent solution to be like if we just give them less Nvidia chips, they will source other chips, they'll make their own chips. Like it's like it's not like maybe it'll take them longer to get there, but I think the right attitude to mitigating this is to actually open up a relationship, to be like it's beneficial for both of us to work together and to not harm each other, because that's that's not helping anybody. And I actually do not agree with the premise that stopping Nvidia chips is going to just put United States firmly in the driver's seat. That's one of many factors, and it's just one of many factors. There are still other ways in which if adversity comes to adversity, there are other ways which
This is so interesting because they are like, okay, once we have all this abundance of information, abundance of knowledge, abundance of resources, what happens? We just end up, we are bored because we got everything. We are in paradise, right? So we create games. And this is game at a massive country level, geopolitical level. Who is going to win, America or China in AI? So the goal is to play the game, compete in the game, but not try to kill each other. When you are like, oh, I lost, you kill him, like whatever. Like you don't try to kill each other. But so I think that's kind of a good perspective to think about it. That okay, it's a game, and America and China are both in a game to compete. Who's gonna win this? But the goal is not to kill each other.
Can I tell you a short tangential story from my life? So when the pandemic was happening, my father's an engineer. He works at the power plant, helps make electricity. So he had to go every day. Like he couldn't get work from home. He couldn't get he had to go regardless of the pandemic. He had to go every day, right? But most people stopped going to work. Many of them actually lost jobs or quit jobs. It was a big reshuffle, right? And then my father had to go. So I had to ask him that, hey, the world seems to carry on. There's this huge shift. Most people are not going to office. These people who have always gone to office are no longer going to office. But the world is just moving on. There's food on the table. Things seem to be fine. How is that? You go to the office because you have to go. But why is that? And he said the way the world works is that you probably need about 10% of the total workforce to actually keep the world running. You probably need the farmers, you probably need the guys who make the electricity, you probably need the guys who run the water and stuff. The rest of the 90%, 45% of them will create more problems, the other 45% will solve those created problems. So the other 90% is constantly creating problems and solving these problems that did not exist in the first place. They're just and then the 10% is actually keeping the world alive.
No, it's very interesting. It's like,
and so I found that to be, in the same lines as like once we have abundance and we are bored, what do?
Yeah.
We create problems. We create games.
We create games. Hopefully, we don't want to phrase it problems. Yeah.
Well,
Hopefully,
we create games.
Yeah.
Hopefully, fun games. Hopefully, hopefully
Yeah.
creative games. But yeah.
Like I also think about it sometimes. Like, what is cricket? It's kind of crazy, right? Like cricket or football. Like a 35-year-old man making money from running around on grassland
Yeah.
and like kicking around.
Yeah,
a
but
ball.
what makes you feel is
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
like he could be running around, but like maybe you feel a sense of belonging with him when he does that,
Yeah.
and millions of other people do the same,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so he makes money.
Yeah. It's a game. It's a game.
It's relatable, yeah.
All right, cool. What do we have next? The next one we have is information is free because saturating your cognition and preventing
Which is
you
fine and great.
from taking action is the product.
No, that's bullshit.
Information is free because saturating your cognition and preventing you from taking action is the product.
No. Okay, but what's your take here?
I just thought it's very provocative,
Sure.
and it kind of makes sense. It's basically talking tutorial hell, right? What is tutorial hell? People keep consuming tutorials, keep doing tutorials without ever getting off the local host.
Sure, but why would that be the product? Like it's not okay. The people who are
Courses. We have this entire
sure
courses industry. Why do we have a
That makes
courses
sense.
industry?
that checks out. I look at it from the perspective of like they do need you to take the action, and the action is to buy. Like it's to buy more. Like it's if the people who are controlling the information, their goal is to prevent you from taking action, then the product is not you not taking action, the product is the information. The product is that, hey, don't take action, consume more information. The product cannot
Yes.
be, but here it's saying the product is that you being prevented from taking action. That's
Exactly. What is Hinge? Hinge's entire, what are dating apps? Their like specifically Hinge's
Sure.
entire tagline is we get you off this dating app. Our goal is this is the first dating app built for you to delete this dating app.
Sure.
I forgot the exact tagline.
Yeah,
it's
I
much
get
concise,
you.
but it's exactly the goal is to get you off this dating app. But that's not how it works.
Right.
They only make money by keeping you swiping. There is no incentive to stop that subscription from find you that partner, because as long as you don't have a partner, as long as you are swiping, they're making money.
Maybe I see that now. I mean, there's definitely examples where what you're saying is true. I guess the way I think of it is like information is free because the product is like the next layer. Like it's essentially advertisements. Or AI is free because
Advertisements is again distracting you, putting into consumerism, which is preventing you from taking the action.
but the action they want you to take is to buy. Like I guess it depends on
Action-
what you define
Action
as action.
is a high level action, which is more like what do you
Sure.
want to, what will make you fulfilled. Seeing an ad and buying that like Gucci purse is not gonna make you fulfilled, but building that business is gonna make you fulfilled, and that's what it's preventing you from.
Maybe, yeah. I guess the other perspective I also had on this is the concept of AI. So AI makes information free, but the product it's trying to make is not for you to stop taking action. It's actually for you to take more action,
Yes.
so that you're more dependent on the AI. So it's not that. So the AI use case is we're giving you free information so that you do more, and that you're addicted to doing more, so that you have to use us and you have to keep using us.
Yes.
But I guess
Yes.
there are certain cases where that's true and certain other cases where that's not true.
Yeah.
I just don't think this is a universally true statement.
Okay. It's also very interesting because what you just said, it reminded me of this interesting conversation I had last night with a friend. So we built this thing called NSTV, which is basically just every NS creator in one single feed.
Nice.
So you have all these creators,
Very cool.
like based, what do we say?
Yeah.
Categorized by
yeah.
whatever they are doing. So Jake explains, and now you can just go on his YouTube and check it out as YouTube.
Very cool.
So it's a pretty much like a very basic thing, but I thought it was so cool. Like it was amazing. And this one of my friends who was like with me, who's beside me, who's looking at me building it. He's like, "Is this your first vibe coding app?
Right.
Or is this the first app you have vibe coded?" I'm like, "No, I have done a lot, but this is the first time it actually mattered what I was building. This is the first time it feels like it matters what I'm building."
Yeah, it maps to your values.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can vibe coding with this technology, it's like God, it's like genie. You're like, tell me what you want. I can ask you for anything, but am I asking you for a thing that actually
Really
matters to me?
Yeah.
I can ask you for,
Yeah.
hey, give me a PlayStation 5, whatever.
Yeah.
But do I want that? No. This is the first time when I felt that I asked you for 1 Bitcoin, and then I really loved that 1 Bitcoin because it truly made me feel like I'm doing something important in this world.
Yeah.
So that was the...
So maybe that's like one of the more underrated skills that people need now, is to really know what you want.
Exactly.
Like, what do you actually want? Like, it's maybe you build something, but maybe that's not going to give you joy because that's not what you actually wanted.
Yeah.
So maybe that level of introspection is what will become an underrated skill now.
Yeah. One book that I really enjoyed is War of Art by Steven Pressfield.
Great book.
And
Yeah.
you read that?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love War of Art by Steven Pressfield because it talks about this idea of resistance.
Oh, sorry?
Resistance.
Right, yeah. Capital R resistance.
Exactly. Capital R resistance, which is basically this idea that, okay, within you, there is this higher calling to do something, maybe build a business, maybe do something, right? But to distract, but you end up distracting yourself. There's a negative force that acts in the opposite direction called resistance, which ends up distracting you, and you end up putting that same energy that you should be putting over there into gambling, alcoholism, and all that other stuff, which is wrong for you. So I think that is like when this tweet talks about action, I feel that action is talking about this from a Steven Pressfield perspective, that okay,
Yeah.
what is something that you truly want to do, and everything else that you end up doing is like resistance.
Okay,
in
I see what you
manifestation.
mean. Okay. Maybe, yeah, in that case, I guess what you're saying makes sense, yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's the whole done is better than perfect
yeah.
thing.
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's a great way to end this thing. We are heading 57 minutes, and how do you feel? This was our first NSTV episode.
Great, pretty good. Few things we learned about
Yeah.
what we should do differently.
But yeah,
No, this was great, and excited to see the other episodes, and great conversation, man. We had a few interesting like discourses, I think. So
that's it. All right, thank you.
cool. Peace.
You are watching
NSTV.
NSTV. All right, thank you guys. Ciao, ciao.